speaking of 4 years ago, 4 years ago now. It's 2021. A lot, people. The way people think of things is so finite and it's so permanent. But 4 years isn't that long. 3 years isn't that long, right? But so much has changed.
Yes.
I mean, for us, for people, life, etc. I mean, that was during Trump presidency, right? Felt like a 10-year I know it felt like a 10-year presidency, but it wasn't that long ago, and so much has changed. So when you think about looking back, it seems pretty straightforward. Like, oh yeah, that was a lot happened in 4 years. But people think of the future; they don't think like that. They think, it's gonna be the same. I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I'm not excited about this, that, whatever. Granted, part of that is just your own decision making, but the other part is that the stuff that we do, whether it's buying a house or selling a house, I mean, you can do it in 6 months.
I know, that was quick.
But yeah, I mean, I bought this house just before that, so 4.5 years ago, almost 5 years ago. 4.5 years? Yeah, 4.5 years ago.
Oh, I thought you were here longer.
No, I was in Midtown for 7 years. But it's just been taking forever to renovate this place.
Letting it sit.
But I remember because we had moved in, right before then, 6 months before then, to here. So, but yeah, I'm just reflecting on how it's hard to think of it in the future like that, right? Like what could happen in 4 years so much. Yeah. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But when you look back, it's like, oh shit, there's so much
could be president.
Nope. Nope.
Hey, you never know. You could get a spark. You put your mind to it. I'm gonna be a political guy now.
By the way, so we're talking about that. And we talked about this before. I'd met John Ossoff before, but I don't know if you know, but like years ago, before he was anything, and he had a failed congressional run too, but when he was clerking for John Lewis, his plan was to run for president. Like he plans to be president.
He's young.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like that's been his plan for 7 years, like before today.
It's possible,
and I'm sure before he was a kid. but I mean, he obviously now is in the Senate, which is, by the way, a big step up from Congress. So he's probably glad that he lost that seat to Karen Handel, who sucked anyway.
Karen,
a lot of Karens, and she was definitely a Karen. But yeah, I mean, he plans to definitely be, and I see a path there. Just depending on how the winds blow.
I see for my generation and the younger generation, I feel like Andrew Yang is going to be popular amongst them.
Yes and no. I like Andrew Yang, but I don't know. I think it'll take some time to get there.
Yeah,
longer
100%.
than and also his style is a little less confidence inspiring. Great. I mean, I like the ideas and the concepts behind them make sense and his motivations, but the style just, I don't think on a large scale works. And if you look at the reception that he got compared to the other, and by the way, Andrew Yang is was a former Democratic presidential candidate. But where he came, even amongst those candidates, he was pretty low. Now he also got shafted on like the media airtime and shit like that, but that's a separate thing.
Politics are. I heard some people saying Trump's going to start his own party, but it's probably just baloney.
He should. I mean, he hijacked the Republican Party. A bunch of those fucking pussies were like, "Oh, well, just get in line."
I think it's called. They call it somebody probably is making it up because it's so easy to just, but like the Patriotic Party or something.
I actually would be a huge advocate of that. You know why? Because Trump or not, I think two-party politics has gotten us here. That's the reason. It's like left or right. That's it. And if those are your only choices, then things tend to polarize.
To me, it also doesn't, how close it was this year just doesn't, to me, show the country wants it to be one way. It's within how many votes, so small. It's like, obviously,
well, it depends.
we're divided.
You mean electoral college votes, or do you mean popular vote? Because the popular vote wasn't close.
The electoral college, I guess all of it in general, it's still pretty relatively close. If you're looking within percentage points, like small percentage points, it's not like a 60-40 or a 70-30, whereas like.
But it never is.
I know it's not, but it's like
that would be like a complete landslide.
But even now with the animosity towards it, like all that, and how close it is, it's just like there's not a clear.
I mean, it is pretty big difference.
It was
in the popular vote,
but the people like for the people on the other side. I mean, they're saying it's not real, so it's like hard because it's like
which is made up.
Agree.
That's not true.
I'm aware.
They can say it, but just like Trump, just because you say it doesn't make it true.
This world is nuts. I'm glad the politics stuff is over.
It's not over.
No, the election with Trump and Biden is over.
I'm glad that I don't have to get 45 different fucking mailers. You know, living in Georgia and being in Atlanta.
Thank God I changed
my phone.
Oh my God.
I changed my phone number a year ago, and I don't get that anymore. Thank God.
I don't know how they found my number, but
when you register to vote, that number that you put in there, and my number that I registered to vote with was my last number. So whoever's got it now, sorry, because they're probably getting double.
Sucks. It's terrible. But I mean, the rest of the country didn't have to endure what we did because of the January 5th senatorial elections, where Georgia basically determined the Senate.
Do you think any election prior has been watched by the entire world as much as this election? Like, I feel like the entire world had an opinion on our election rather than it being like they care. Like, other countries may care about it, but like with how much noise Trump made, I feel like everybody in the UK is talking about, wow, look what's going on in America, like more than ever.
Well, honestly, a couple things. One, as the United States being the beacon of democracy that we have been, I think that happens every election. Each election you feel like that. I mean, I've been a part of every presidential election that I can remember
since the presidency started.
No, I mean I'm saying that I can remember that it's been like that. Like, wow, what a massive election! It's crazy. The world was watching, and by the way, they always are. Again, as the longest running example of
but it still feels like, just like Harrison was just saying, it still don't feel like the world was watching the previous one like this one.
But that's the thing. It feels like that every time. You go back before that, it didn't feel like that until the Hillary and Trump election, right? Prior to that, you could argue, well, the Obama one, because it was a second term, it's like, oh, he's not going to win against Mitt Romney, and then with John McCain and all that. I mean, people say that because every time it does feel like that, and nobody's wrong. It's just that's how it goes. I mean, if you've been involved in politics, the stakes just get raised.
But
each
like with
time.
the Capitol stuff happening right before,
yeah. So, but that's a little bit different than what you're saying, though, because
but the whole, I'm saying everything together, like that added, like if people are talking about it, then that happens, and it's like, oh my God, everybody's talking about.
Besides the shame and embarrassment of that component, which is just ridiculous. But honestly, I'm not at all surprised it happened. I'm not surprised. No. I'm severely disappointed, but I'm not surprised at all. That kind of bullshit happens when you let things go that you think, oh, it's a small thing. He says this, he says that, it's okay. But over time, that becomes crazy. Like, you let a little bit of crazy, then a lot of crazy is going to happen eventually. Yeah. Anyway, I think I'll get back into politics at some point. I mean, I was heavily involved in politics as a younger man, and I think I'll get there eventually. But,
I'll be on the outskirts.
Yeah, I'm always, yeah.
Steven has to be chilling.
We good.
I think, honestly, if I could self-finance my own campaign, so I got to be worth like $250 million, but I would probably do it then.
Wouldn't seem worth my energy, but that's me. You're a different person. But the energy and strain, but a lot of people, people ask me, or when I talk to people, they're like, why would Trump run for president? Like, what is his interest in running for president? And this is my
his interest was himself.
Yeah, my thought process is you've earned billions of dollars. You've been on TV shows. You've been famous. You have hotels. You have this. Everybody knows who you are. What's the next pinnacle of power? What's the next level of power that you can reach? You can't get much higher than the president of the United States. And for somebody that loves attention and power, that's the next level for them. It's like, he's famous. He's got all the money in the world. He's got hotels. He's got jets. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. Mm-hmm. But he's not running the United States. But what to somebody who loves power, that makes them drool. Like that probably got him hard to think like, I could run the United States, and then look where it ended up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the world's going to end regardless of who's president, but I think it's certainly certain things become more apparent when that happens. I don't blame Trump he didn't create a bunch of fucking white supremacists. He just brought them out of the woodwork, and I'm happy for it because now you're fucking aware, you dumb shits. This shit's been around for a long ass fucking time. Be like, oh, I'm so surprised. Be surprised? It's fucking obvious. Get your head out of your ass. Anyway.
Here we are today.
Yep.
Joe Biden is our president, oldest president to ever be elected.
By a little bit.
But
most of them are pretty fucking old. But
that's why, like, it's crazy. I mean, let's say, for instance, if John Ossoff ran, the problem is it takes years to get into the position to even be able to, like, think you have a chance to run. Well,
if you look at Obama's trajectory,
young. Yeah,
he was very young, and his entrance into the Senate was young, but Ossoff's a little younger. But I can see within 2-3 terms him being there, depending on what happens on the national stage, depending on where the party is, depending on a lot of other things. You know who I was really disappointed in was in his leadership or lack thereof was Paul Ryan in years past. That motherfucker had opportunities and didn't do shit with it. I was really disappointed by that.
Mitt Romney kind of was a little polarizing during all this,
which I appreciate. I mean, he became the moderate, Republican, which to me was like, without a fucking brain.
I feel like people listening are probably like, I've been watching the news so much. Now it's here. I'm listening to a news podcast.
Right.
Yeah, but we don't often talk about it, so it's an interesting perspective.
It's a polarizing time in the world currently, so it's coming off of one of the most polarizing times.
It's always polarizing. People just fucking pussies about their fucking concepts.
No, but we're coming off of an election that just officially ended with somebody else being sworn in. So it's just coming off of this craziness, and now it's unarguable who the new president is.
Yeah, but that happens every other election, guaranteed.
It does, but I'm saying right now, this is in this current moment that we're in, it's just coming off of that craziness. I didn't say it hasn't happened in the past. I'm just saying right now, that's why we're talking about it, is because it just ended.
Yeah, a couple of days ago.
It's still fresh on our minds.
Mm-hmm.
It's always fresh on my mind.
It's not fresh. I'm not.
And I think it's the difference.
I'm not watching the news as much as I have been.
It's not fresh in most people's minds, or maybe a lot of people like you guys, as it was this time, right? Is
last
true?
election it was pretty fresh. I remember that last election a lot, but I was younger. I was 19.
But you forget about it quick. Like this,
21.
No, you were 21, dude.
This one was just different, completely different. Like the whole world was watching.
There's a lot more movements with BLM and all that too. There's a lot of. I think social media just made it seem a lot more because that's what we saw a lot of.
Well, which makes sense because, news reporting, social media has changed a lot. Mm-hmm. Media has changed a lot in 4 years, and especially 8 years. Fuck, 8 years. My God, think about where social media was then.
I know. What you were saying too, Hoss, is like, yeah, the world's always watching, but this time, like, everybody was watching, like, really watching, like, America, like, for
again,
it happens every
the same. Yeah, I know.
Fucking election where the world is watching. Yes, they were also really watching here with, on the edge of their seat, but it's the same concept, like. Different things are on the line. Yes,
like every phone call that I get onto with anybody that I know overseas. Like I was talking to this dude that I know from Germany. That was the first conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm in a few groups too. That it's pretty much all we talk about is politics. And it's an international group too. So again, to me, it's never like, oh, this is so different. I'm always this involved. However, I think, like I said before, the stakes keep rising. So yes, it was a very high stakes election, but who knows what happened next election? Who knows?
We'll see.
Maybe there'll be a third party and it'll be the Trump party. And it'll be like, well, do we go back to craziness? Or do then, but consider that for a second. Then what happens to a 2-party system is that they have freedom then to choose a little more. Candidates have more options. So the issue I had with two-party system was that it forces you to go left or right, black or white, right? And I think that's really because of the nature of our elections. Without, we have winner-take-all elections. So those elections lead to two parties. But if we were to change those two things, I think a lot of things about American politics would change. And also we have candidates who would say, this is what I actually think, this is what I really think, and they could represent more varying individuals than kind of the middle of the masses or the slight majority of the masses. That's why I think and believe that having, changing the way that our election results are done, kind of like in Georgia. So states have individual rules about that. But if no one gets 50% majority, right, over 50% majority, then it goes to a runoff. Well, I would love if we were able to have elections where it wouldn't be, it would be that same concept for every election where, depending on who if you get over 20 or 30%, then you go, right? Or you're going to go to the runoff. But then you can have candidates who can run on different platforms for people who believe in a UBI, universal basic income, right? Or increase the minimum wage or whatever it is. And people can run on not just a whole platform of here are the 48 points that we believe in, and this is the party, and this is what we say, this is what we all agree on. That's fucking bullshit. No one thinks that way. This doesn't make any fucking sense.
Steve and I are like the same right now.
Yeah. Man, do you watch
have your eyes glazed over? Is that your
Almost.